Hello everyone, we have a very exciting video today, well at least for us, because we finally get to plant some roses. We're not planting in the ground today, we're going to go ahead and plant today in containers because these are going to go in the front of the home, the entrance. They're going to be facing west, so this planting will be for full sun. So what are we planting? We are planting 2 rose trees. The name of these rose trees are Garden Mill. These are David Austin rose trees, and they're just beautiful. As you can see, it started to bloom. Today they started to open up. So it's a very peachy kind of, just very peachy color. It's so beautiful and it smells really nice, more of a myrrh scent. I'm also going to be underplanting it with some very pretty plants. And let's get going. I don't want to make it so long for you guys. So I always like to use a good size container. These are like about 16 inches wide, and I'm guessing deep too. I'm looking at Ambrose. Are they 16 inches of deep? They're 16 inches deep as well. And I always like to go a little bigger because containers, like, they dry out a lot, the soil. There's where I'm gonna speak about soil. You wanna make sure that you have a really good quality potting mix. We like to go with Espoma Organics because it doesn't dry out that quickly. And when temperatures start to rise in the summer, yeah, that can be an issue, and I don't want to be all the time having to be worried about my soil, the potting mix getting dry in the containers. So make sure that your pot has hose in there. We like to drill at least 3. That's for drainage. And back to the soil, make sure that the potting mix is a good quality mix so it drains well as also. So let's get going and put some of the soil in there. Almost forgot. I do add, now this is something if you wanna go ahead and try it, you don't have to, but what we like to do is put some bark mulch, like about 3 inches of it on the bottom. The reason we do that is so there could be extra drainage. Sometimes the containers, after a while, the soil on the bottom, on the very, very bottom of the container starts to get stuck in the hose. And I've done it before where I forget to check underneath. And sometimes that's what causes root rot because the water doesn't drain out well. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put the soil in there. And this is usually as big as I go in containers when we're first planting. I have gone smaller. The smallest I think I go is like a 5-gallon pot. Let's put this over here. And I'm gonna need more. So I already went ahead and put some soil in their potting mix. And now I'm gonna add Biotone from Espoma Organics. Now it tells you how much to put in the back of the bag. I know how to eyeball it. I've been using this for everything. So the starter, what it does from the Biotone starter, what it does, it helps the roots establish themselves a lot quicker. It really does help a lot. We love this stuff. So now I'm gonna go ahead and prepare to put in the rose. So when you put in the rose, make sure to be very careful because the roots are loose. And it's gonna come out. This is what I mean, guys. It breaks very easily. So what I wanna do is make sure that I'm planting this 2 inches below. So because it is a tree rose, I'm planting it in deep 1 more inch. So that's a total of 3 inches. Just because if it gets windy, which is still gonna be very windy right now, it might blow the tree out of the pot. We don't want that, or it'll move it around. So what I'm doing right now is just making sure that I have it sitting in there right. I like to push around the root ball. Make sure that the soil is in there good. You can also tap it on the side so it can settle. And that way you can start putting in there more soil. So the sun is starting to set, so I'm like fighting with it. So we're waiting for it to go down a bit, but I'm so not patient right now. I just want to get this going. Okay, so I started to set the plants how I want them, the ones that I'm going to plant with the rose tree. So let me tell you what I am planting in here. So this right here is Snow Princess Alyssum. And then I'm going to plant it with Silver Falls Dichondra. And then I do have the same repeating in the back over here, the other side. And then I'm going to use some Super Bells Blue Moon Punch on that side right there. And then this right here is Superbena Peachy Keen. Oh, I love this Superbena so much. It's gonna go back to the color of the rose. That's why I went ahead and did it. That way it can come back to it and it'll be on this side. Remember that I have two of these containers I'll be making. They're the same, but I'm just gonna do things the opposite way, or I just turn them around, guys. That's something I'm gonna be doing in the front, is make sure that I turn them around so they can always get the same amount of light. So when you are picking, I'm gonna go ahead and start planting, and then I'll talk more about the plants. So I do sprinkle a little bit more of the biotone fertilizer for these guys too, so it can start helping their roots grow. So I'm gonna put it right here. So when picking plants to plant in with a rose, make sure, the rule, always make sure that you get the plants that are going to be, that have the same needs, meaning water and light. So like I said, this will be for full sun, so these can take full sun, all of them. Also water needs, they have normal water needs, and they are heat tolerant. That is something very important, because on that side of the house, is the western side of the house, is going to be very hot, and we do get very hot temperatures here in San Antonio. So I know that these guys are going to do great. So now let's go ahead and put the Silver Falls in here. So I got them all planted in. Now I'm going to go ahead and add a bit of mulch around the plants. That way it keeps the soil moist, doesn't dry out too fast. Let's put a little bit around there. Still let the plants, don't suffocate it with it. Here we go. I love the way it came out. I think it's a perfect amount of color. So I love how all these plants are going to be able to mingle together. I love the Dichondra, the Silver Falls, because it's the same color. I'm going with gray like the container. I think that's gonna look very pretty as it starts to spill out. And then we have the verbena, the alyssum. The alyssum will spill as well. But the pretty thing is that the Super Bells and the verbena, they will all kind of bush up right here too, and they'll serve as fillers and spillers at the same time. And of course you have the rose that is just, is the star of it, right? It's the star of the whole container. So we're gonna go ahead and water it. You have to make sure to water your containers well, especially right after planting. And about 2 weeks, make sure that you're watering them like really well. After that, The plants will be setting up, the roots already. You don't have to water them all the time, but just make sure you check on your container, especially as the temperatures are going up. What I like to do is go ahead and check with my finger, 2 to 3 inches deep. If the soil feels very, if it starts feeling dry, go ahead and give them a good watering. That sun is finally calming down a little bit, but oh my guys, it had me squinting like crazy, so I'm sorry if I was making weird faces through the whole time here. So yeah, let's go ahead and give it a good watering. I like to make sure to see the water start coming out from the bottom. That way I know that all the whole potting mix in there is nice and moist. And then we're still having cool nights and mornings, but what I do is still come out and check the soil, just in case. But it should be fine. It should be fine until we start getting the really hot temperatures through the whole day. Then is when I really need to be careful with checking on the soil. So what do you all think? I'm loving it. I'm so happy. Ambrose?
Excited.
He loves it. I made him put them up here. I just wanted to stand there and look as he was putting them up here. I'm playing. I did help a little bit. But before I get going with the roses, he wanted me to make sure to remind you about the pot raisers down there. He got those for me through Amazon. So we'll make sure to link everything that we used on this video while we planted, for planting the rose. But yeah, I wanted those so that way they can be lifted up a little bit more. That way everything drains well too. That's something very scary when things, when the soil gets stuck on the bottom, and I don't want to lose any plants. So let's talk a little bit about first the plants down here. I know I already explained about them, but I wanted to let y'all know, don't be afraid to cut them back. I like to cut them back when I first get them. It just bushes them out a little bit more and they just grow more fuller. The alyssum, for instance, that one I ended up bringing home from some of the nurseries around here, but they were a little bit on the dry side, so the top was getting a little ugly. So I just chopped all that off. It's okay. They will come back, especially with the biotone from Espoma Organics. The same thing with the what is it called? The super bells. Those guys too. Just cut the flowers. I like to go ahead and come back and pinch them after the video's over. I'm gonna pinch them, take those flowers off, so that way they can just continue to bush up, get a little bigger, and then they'll put on a show and start filling out. So I'm very happy that I went with these colors too. I thought it was going to be too much of color, but it's not. It's just the right amount of color. I also thought that I needed a little bit more of green, like a brighter green. But it's perfect. I don't know how much y'all can see through the camera right now, but I have this little boxwood. It's a bright green. I have the other bushes on the side. That's another kind of bright green, like a variegated type of bush. So I love that I put in the silver in there, the silver falls. That's going to bring, that just ties in together really beautifully with the pots as well. The rose garden mill is just beautiful. I love it here. I intentionally went with this color, the apricot color, because of the sun, which is right now starting to come down. So I'm gonna move down here so I can see you guys too. But I love it because around this time, the sun starts to set and it looks really pretty. Now let's talk about the sun and the heat on this side. We are on the west side of the home. It gets very, very hot. And I was really struggling on what plants I was going to get for this area, because around summertime when the temperatures rise, this wall right here gets super hot. I can't even touch the door because it's that hot. So I have to be careful what I put here. I went ahead and removed the evergreens that I had here because of that reason. I don't want them to burn from the back. I'm not sure if they were going to make it. I'm sure there's evergreens that could probably handle that intense heat, but I wanted to go with something different. And I thought that a rose is tough. A rose is really tough. I know it can take it. And plus, it only all this right here is bare, so I don't think it'll really get any sun damage. So I think that's about it. We will be coming back and revisiting this area as I go ahead and, I don't know, just fill in with a little bit more color, maybe some other types of pots, containers, just to bring more color the side of the garage as well. We'll be having a little bit more fun around here, but I want to keep it very simple, just very simple, pretty. So if you have any questions, go ahead and just leave them down below. Thank you very much for watching.